even no one make person talk. Them say that Mayegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Mayegun diary, he dey hot like pepper. But every day, then they take money in bulk. Woman pikin, they the street, they hawk. Still them talk, say, make we no talk. But thank God, say, Mayegun don't come. So my people make you laugh. Oh, yo, yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh, yo, yo. My people make you shout. Oh, yo, yo, Mayegun don't come. Oh, yo, yo. Mayegun don't come, man of the masses. Oh, yo, yo. Mayegun don't come. Oh, yo, yo. Mayegun diary politico. Oh, yo, yo.
The birthday. Are you not ashamed of yourself that they born you on an angry moment? What is good about the birthday? Are you not ashamed of yourself that they born you when the country is about to break down? Come on here with your birthday. Come on, go and sit down. Nobody's celebrating your birthday. So if your birthday is today, you supposed.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò.
Mayegun diary.
Hello there.
Mayegun ti dé o, ọ̀rẹ́ ará ìlú.
Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live.
Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í bò níbẹ̀ o.
Thank you very much. Share this broadcast. Invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends, and tell them that Mayegun is back. Oh, Mayegun today.
Wàá gbọ́ níbẹ̀ o.
Mayegun diary,
Mayegun diary politico.
Mayegun diary,
It is not over until it is over. Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi have reacted, not just reacted, they have rejected the Court of Appeal Presidential Election Petition Tribunal's verdict of yesterday. The one that was so obvious, that, I mean, where the judiciary thrown out all the evidence simply because they were not filed in time or for technical reason, since they can't use all the evidence for technical reason, therefore, no evidence. Then at a point, the justices have been injustices themselves. They took it personal. Tonight, we'll follow it up. Tinubu has reacted as well. While all these were kind of the reactions from Atiku and Obi, Shetima said, don't worry, guys, I won't retire Atiku to Dubai. He's going to retire him to somewhere in Adamawa, buy him goats, buy him fowls, and he will start rearing goats.
Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràgì. Àní ẹ̀sùn ràgì.
Mayegun ti dé.
Mayegun ti dé.
Mo ti dé o. So, good morning to you once again. Good afternoon to you. And good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun. And it is live if you are not watching a replay. Of course, the reactions to what happened yesterday, apart from all the optimism, and for those who are kind of expecting something different, and on like that, And to those who didn't expect any kind of surprise, it wasn't surprising to some of us, but to some, I mean, if it was going to be a judgment, like, you would expect something more kind of like fairer than what they read out. Anyway, today, Atiku has reacted, same as Obi, okay? And there is no protest. There is no shutting down of Nigeria. People have already entered this damned water, and they can no longer complain of cold. It is now more complicated than it was. However, the both camps are now telling their supporters that, listen, we want you to remain that calm. No protest, no revolution, no this, no that. We will pursue this to a logical conclusion, not because they want to win anymore, because they can tell they compromised judiciary, but for what did they call it? President, Abi, for president's sake, so that those who are doing this now, when the table turns, okay, they will probably look back and possibly wishes that they never had to go this route, that they are taking the judiciary of Nigeria. Whatever that even mean, okay? There are others who are saying, don't go there anymore. For example, the supposed friends of Atiku, are kind of already leaving him. They are already jumping ship. Then Bruce, has jumped the ship by saying it's only so selfish of them that they still want to go to Supreme Court instead of them to work together with Tifnumbu and move Nigeria forward. I'm going to talk about that at some point, if I remember, by the way. There is also the Reno Mokri, who, I don't know what happened. I don't know who provoked him. He jumped on his own social media yesterday, and he said that Peter Obi would never be president of Nigeria as long as he is alive. I don't even know. I mean, some said he probably pushed that because of Elon Musk's money. You know, that impression on Twitter that they pay you, okay? That he knew that if he said that, it's going to attract a lot of engagement. But why would you? Supposed pastor, Abi, I think it's a pastor, Abi, maybe not, anyway, or a grown adult like that, just pick up your phone and tweet it. Say it. I mean, well, a lot of people have said a lot of worse things to themselves, but I just thought that's kind of right. He would never be president as long as Sereno is alive. But the ridiculous one that actually added to the whole voice is that of Lamidiot Apampas. And Lamidiot Apampas will always kind of have the headline as long as he's talking about Obi as well, right? So Lamidiot Apampas, according to the media headlines out there, just said that they have accepted the judgment. We are very okay with the judgment. Fantastic. And if Peter Obi is going to go on as to challenge the election at the Supreme Court, as he is planning to do, Lamidiot Apampas said he would expose Peter Obi. Okay, with what? He said Peter Obi defrauded them of $15 million and 12 billion naira. I don't understand. Okay, but it's actually out there. All right, that's part of all the voices that are kind of dropping by. And the one that we kind of nearly missed yesterday was when the first reaction to the student loan announced by Tifnumbu. And I remember telling some of you then that, Shebi, that federal government schools are called unity schools. They are mostly the cheapest in Nigeria today, whether for whether for primary school, secondary education, or tertiary. The reason is because it's always been subsidized. That Tifnumbu telling you that they are going to introduce student loan is a systematic way of telling you that your education is no longer subsidized, and therefore you should find a way of funding your own education. But in case if you can't fund it, there is going to be a bank that you can go there and borrow money. But there was actually no bank. There's no preparation of setting up a bank, okay, for this. But they went to town to tell people that they could go and take money and they'll be paying it back after they graduated. But it was a ground for school fees increase. Well, to some of those who initially said it was a great idea, that is how they are doing it abroad, in the UK, in Kenekon, majority of them that didn't live Amukoko, Abiokoko, they are there as experts on this student loan. Why the arguments were kind of going back and forth, nobody had a clue. The schools increased their tuition. So UNILAG, also, I mean, UNILAG actually happened to be the first to increase their school fees like properly. And the students started reacting. Unfortunately, we know that as you have some of these young people affected by this policy that will be affected all over the country, you do have those who are very much like, what do you call them again? They have a word for them. Ardent. I don't want to use ardent. They are like die-hard supporters and voters, promoters of the propagandas of these criminals that are unleashing these policies on them. A lot of them don't think. So some of them are so angry more than the others. Those who are more angrier, they are those who actually invested their trust in this APC. You could tell from their, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, this is not what we bargained for. Okay? As the cost of living in Nigeria continued to skyrocket and people continue to fall into poverty every day, some said it's actually every minute, a lot of them are going to have to drop out of school, like walk out of those schools, and they will never come back. There is already an epidemic of, young people who are now yahoo into fraud, what do you call it? Yeah, into fraud, different kind of fraud. Defrauding even themselves in Nigeria. I'm talking about emptying the bank account of whoever they get their hands on their details. Because what's the point? If you can't continue your education, the entire society is already rigged against you. Even with education, the system is rigged against you. Now, look at how it's going to be like when you actually have you are actually a dropout existing in Nigeria where nobody gives a damn about you. So when this continues, which is a policy that's going to lead a lot of you to either leave Nigeria or leave your education forever. And most of you are actually going to leave education. And those who are going to leave the education in the next few months, right? They are also those, they are not those who have the capacity to leave Nigeria, which means they are going to have to exist in that place. So they were protesting, asking them to kind of take a look. Some of us are actually working and and schooling, which means we have to do a lot of menial jobs, make some kind of, you know what I mean, in order to fund our education. But when we woke up one morning, after electing APC, not electing APC, whatever happens now, it doesn't even really matter anymore. Whether you are APC, PDP, Labour, or wherever, or you even none of them, it doesn't matter anymore. It's a policy. It's going to touch everybody. Your parents are going to scream for help, and there will be none. I'm just saying this so you know, it's not going to spare anybody. And these policies, this kind of policies, this is how they're going to prune you. They're going to mold you, condition you, and then break you until you find yourself in a state of life that you'll be like, you never envisaged this. This wasn't my dream 5 years ago. This wasn't my dream 10 years ago. You get what I mean? It is systemic. It's called systematic, pruning. So when some of you, let's say half of you are currently in school, are going to graduate and no job. I'm not if I'm actually being generous here, right? Then let's say another half of you who started before these criminals are likely going to have to find something else to do. You're going to drop out. The system is not going to help you. because the system is actually there intentionally to get as many of you out of that place and discourage a lot of you from even attempting it. Now, education will be very luxury. I mean, it will be a new luxury. They've told you that before. It's a policy. And it is going to be in another 4 or 5 years that you are going to understand what this is going to do to you. And it is not being kind of pessimistic, by the way. Okay, it is already happening. So the schools increased the school fees, and the students were everywhere. Like, for example, with all their different placards, we don't have 210,000 naira. Okay, we don't have 160,000 naira, and all that. The reason is because those whose school fees were increased to 210,000 naira, they used to pay around 25, 30,000 naira. Those whose school fees have been increased to 160,000, they used to pay 20, 24, 25,000 naira as well. But now here you are. Their school fees has been increased by more than 800%. Because 100% of 25,000 naira is another 25,000 naira now, Abi? So if we are now looking at about 210,000 naira, is that not like 700% school fees increase? How does that even work? There's no 700% increase in your earnings. You all know that. Rather, they have been kind of taking them away little by little, and you are left with nothing. And not as if to say they are also reinvesting those things the money they are taking from you, called tax. They are not investing them in infrastructures to improve your lives, improve your businesses. No, you know that. Okay? But here you are. You will have to exist in it. Now let's go to the court. We'll come back to the UNILAG students. Like I said, they were on the street yesterday and the police started shooting them. Like, why would you even shoot them? They are students, for God's sake. Anyway. So, like I said, Atiku has responded to the tribunal judgment of yesterday. I know that a lot of Nigerians, I have told you this before and I'll keep saying it. A lot of Nigerians don't hate corruption. Okay? A lot of Nigerians don't hate oppression. A lot of Nigerians, they don't hate even this rigging you are talking about. Most of them, in most cases, they don't like the fact that they are not the ones either doing the corruption, doing the oppression, or doing the rigging. It has kind of been like that. So, until when this obedience came, you know what they achieved, which I will continue to remind all of us of. No matter how much they try to rewrite the history. You know what they say about history? They said history is very slow when we are living it. Right before our very eyes, we saw those you could call no structure, no experience, no this, no money, no this, no that, took the traditional powerful political base and bases in Nigeria. They took them to the cleaners. They demystified a lot of myth about Nigeria politics. And they are still doing that now. Many of the things that are shocking a lot of you today, because you are finding out now, thanks to them, a lot of us others have known about these things existing in Nigeria. A rigged system. When the system is rigged against you, you cannot win it. Do you understand that? You can't. Genuine things don't happen consistently in a rigged system. It is mostly like script. So when you want to follow rule of law, and the people who are supposed to implement or kind of effect the rule of law, punish offenders, they are actually those behind the misuse of the law. And because they are authorized by the same law to be the harbinger. Sorry, that word is one of those fancy words. I kind of, when I read and I pick them, I'm like, harbinger, like that. It's like somebody in control, somebody in command. The people who are supposed to use that same law, just law, to create just society. But Nigeria is scripted. Don't be surprised if the establishment, listen to me, if the establishment wanted Peter Obi for any particular reason beyond whatever all of you believe to be the president of Nigeria, they will write the scripts. You will think you did it. You will think, yes, power of the people, the power of Kineko. Nigeria is unreal. And sometimes it is kind of so hard to explain this to people who have lived all their lives about what they have come to know about Nigeria. Telling them it's not real. Rethink it. Piece the whole thing. Put the pieces together. And tell me anything that ever makes sense out of everything that is happening in Nigeria. Because it is a rigged system. A rigged system cannot create a functional society. A rigged system will find it difficult to build and maintain infrastructure. A rigged system will find it difficult to police and protect the citizens. A rigged system will make it difficult to conduct elections. A rigged system is an unjust society that will never give justice. If you know all of this truth, Baba, you would have peace of mind. Nigeria is a rigged system. And the actors doesn't really matter. Oh, this person is Yoruba. This one is Hausa. This one is very educated. This one is least educated. This one is very exposed. This one is least exposed. This one is a man of God. This one is a man of devil. It doesn't really matter. The system is there. And the moment you join it, if you are very sincere with your belief, you will jump out again. You can't stay in there and say, I want to change it from inside. From my own experience, Nigeria system has consistently changing people. You see, what is the system of government you haven't tried in Nigeria? What kind of character or kind of politicians or military men you haven't kind of experienced in Nigeria? It all comes back to one thing: a failed, disjointed country. That is why the real conversation is not being had, but you are going to get there. I mean, especially when a lot of you will also discover the lie you have been living as a Nigerian. I used to live that lie too. It is so difficult, sincerely speaking, for some of us to come to this term. A lot of us love Nigeria so much. If you look at those who want Nigeria to peacefully just discuss and break away, let everybody handle their own affair, handle their own problem. If you look at a lot of them today, they used to be pro-Nigeria. Seriously. But it's okay. Everybody is going to get to that stage too. You're going to, you watching me right now, thinking Nigeria is going to work, give it time. We need to fight them. We cannot give up. We must continue to this and that. It's okay. It's fine. You are going to arrive at that point at a time in your life. Because as they say, life is a teacher. The more you live, the more you learn. So we know in a rigged system that you can't elect your own leaders. So what is the essence of the people in that definition of democracy that continue to appear again and again and again? Democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people, but you can't conduct an election. So when you approach the court, they were supposed to see, because they are also living in the country, right? And they were supposed to use that same just laws to create a just and fair society. But right before your very eyes yesterday, they murdered that. And if you are kind of, somehow you've been jumping up and down because those who wanted to, or those who actually did try to stop these criminals, they have failed. You have no idea yet. But just before I continue to add my own comments, let's go back to the court. You know, the same court who said there was no evidence, you know what they said? The court said, or one of the justices said, Atiku and Obi, they came to court without witnesses. They came to court without evidence. They just came to court to come and waste their time. They expected the court to help them look for evidence in the market. Evidence to back their case. That's what one of the justices said. And she said, or try to use the social media to intimidate them. Do you want me to rephrase what she actually said? She said that Peter Obi and Atiku, they came to court to come and prosecute Tifnumbu's victory without any evidence. After they have first removed all of the evidence, removed all of the witnesses, even the evidence presented, the result presented by INEC, they said they can't take it because the fact that the results no show is not clear. That is the problem of Labour parties. Theirs. All of you watched all the proceeding. 5 times. The same court gave an order, 5 orders on the same thing, that INEC should give them all of the materials they used for the election. And INEC rejected and denied that they didn't give them. You all witnessed that. Abi? Anyway, in the courtroom, let's start from there before we go to reactions. You see this woman, where they me do? That one, where they me do? She's the one that took it personal. In fact, she actually took it personal. And when she's like speaking in the court, right? This part, listen.
Under cross-examination, PW12 stated that petitioners had 133,000 agents. He was not a party agent at any of the INEC designated polling units or collation centers. None of the 133,000 party agents was called to testify that there was a dispute regarding any collated result at any polling unit, registration stroke ward, local government, state or national collation centers. So as to enable the collation officers at the various levels of collation to activate the process prescribed under Section 64, subsection 6 of the Act. PW12 stated that the petitioners believed they have won the election. If they will have won the election, if the results had been uploaded. When asked about the score of the petitioners by which they claimed to have won the election, he answered rhetorically that how are they supposed to know the score when the results were still being uploaded on the IREF? So this petition is about the belief of the petitioners that they will have won the election if the results had been uploaded on the IREF. Election petition is a serious issue. A petitioner is not permitted to engage in fishing expedition or a roving inquiry, as the petitioners herein did. It is clear from the pleadings and the evidence of PW12 that the petitioners were from the onset engaged in a wild goose chase and inquisitorial adventure. By paragraph 9 of the regulation, a political party has a right to appoint one person as its polling agent for each polling unit, collation center, and one representative at each point of distribution of electoral materials in the constituency where it is sponsoring candidates or candidates for an election. According to PW 12, the petitioners exercised that right and had 133,000 party agents in the election. I stated earlier that none of those 133,000 polling agents was called, and not a single one of results forms collected by any of the agents was tendered in evidence. Electoral Act provided a candidate who wishes to challenge any result declared by INEC with a potent material, which are the forms on which results are entered, signed by the first respondent officials and party agents, and a duplicate copy of it is given to the party agent. Any serious candidate ought not to depend on INEC for materials to prosecute his petition. By Section 167D of the Evidence Act, the failure of the petitioners to produce election result forms collected by their agents raises a presumption that if those forms had been produced, it would have been unfavorable to the petitioners. The first respondent in their pleadings and evidence through DW1 stated that the delay in uploading the results from the polling units to the IREF was due to a technical glitch which occurred on their transmission system, which was rectified within a few hours. All that the petitioners could do was to bring a PW1, a member of the second petitioner, who claimed to be a software engineer and an employee of Amazon. She had the temerity and the audacity to claim authorship of a document, a word of which does not belong to her. The first respondent never claimed that the glitch occurred on Amazon Web Services. It is obvious from PW7's evidence that the petitioners did not understand the explanation of the first respondent, or were just fixated on their belief that they won the election without any cogent and credible evidence. And they did not even bother to place any such credible evidence before this court. Were they expecting the court to go and gather evidence from the street or from the market, or to be persuaded or intimidated by threats on social media? That is not the way of the court.
Did you hear that? That's the woman in the middle, the one talking there. She took it very personal. She was talking about, she said, a responsible petitioner will not rely on INEC giving them the materials to prosecute their case. They should have used their field agents. And the result from the field, they should have used that. But according to her, he said Obi and Atiku knew that if they had used the result of their agents, they would have still lost. Okay? Remember, all of the witnesses, Obi brought in 13 witnesses. When they started, they said they receive all the evidence. They receive all the witnesses on the sworn to an oath and everything. When it is time to read the judgment, they said, because of the time they submitted the names of their witnesses, is different from the day they submitted the petition. They should have submitted them together at the same time. So because of that, 10 out of 13 witnesses cancelled. The remaining 3 witnesses, they said because the evidence that those 3 want to speak about, they are gotten from those 13 witnesses. So it's of no use. There's no point in even looking at all the evidence anymore. Because The evidence has been thrown, have been thrown away with the witnesses. So the three of you, we don't even need to read anything you said, okay? Even though we hear that you said something about, what do you call it? Hang on, they said we don't need them, so they throw them out. Now they started reading the petition and said, okay, you wanted us to remove, to disqualify Tifnubu because of his education in Chicago, Abi, but you didn't give us any evidence of that. Now you wanted us to remove Tifnubu because INEC failed to follow their own 2022 electoral act, Abi. Where is the evidence? You know they have thrown everything out. So they're now saying, so you didn't give us any evidence. So because of that, we can't do that. So the woman now took it personal when she said, so one woman came here that she works for Amazon. The audacity to even come here to come and present a document that she did not even produce. They say because the document that showed that nothing was wrong with the server. It was temporarily, it was manually tampered with. They say, of course, you work for Amazon, and so because you now work for Amazon now, we should believe you. Is that what you mean? Okay, where is Amazon's signature? Say, no, I work for Amazon. I can speak for Amazon. Look at this one. Look at the audacity. How dare you walk inside here and say you can speak for Amazon? Are you Amazon? So your evidence, we can't take it. So the bottom line is this. They cleared Tifnubu of all of the charges, everything they brought against him, because all the evidence that was supposed to be used have been thrown out by the judges. So they didn't look at them at all. They didn't want to see them. Because technically, they didn't submit them on time. And that is the position of the law. As your lordship places, arise, all rise. So Atiku reacted. First, it was Atiku, then Obi. So let's hear from Atiku. Yes, Alaji.
Excellency, Ambassador Omar Damagun, the acting chairman for our party, members of the National Working Committee here, chairman of BOT, Senator Adolphus Mwambara, our former Senate President, and members of the Board of Trustees here are present. Former governors, Senators Abdul Ringi and Gina Malaya, our governor to be in Kogi State, our members of the National Assembly, distinguished party leaders and members of the press. Good afternoon. I am here today to give my official reaction to the judgment delivered yesterday by the Presidential Election Petition Court on the 2023 presidential elections. As you already know, I approached the court following the declaration of INEC, or by INEC, that the APC and its candidates are the winners of the February 25th elections. My decision to go to court is anchored in my belief that the court is the sanctuary of justice. The journey of my political career, you know, holds so much to the courage and fearlessness decisions of our judiciary. Indeed, I am no stranger to legal battles. And I can say that I have a fair idea of how the court system works. All through my career as a politician, I have been a fighter and will continue to fight. And I must say that I have found the judiciary as a worthy pillar to rest on the pursuit of justice. The last presidential election in our country, and the way it was managed by the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, leaves behind unenviable precedents, which I believe because have a duty to redress. Our gains in ensuring transparent elections through the deployment of technology was heavily compromised by INEC in the way it managed the last presidential election. And I'm afraid that the judgment of the court as rendered by the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal yesterday failed to restore confidence in our dreams of free and fair elections devoid of human manipulations. Like I did say, at the beginning of this legal battle, when I instructed my lawyers to file my petition challenging the outcome of the presidential election, my ultimate goal in this pursuit is to ensure that democracy is further strengthened through the principles and processes of fair hearing and justice. Gentlemen of the press, I take great pains to tell you that the decision of the court of first instance on this matter utterly fails far short of expectation. I am therefore here to tell you that though the judgment of the court yesterday is respected, it is a judgment that I refuse to accept. I refuse to accept the judgment because I believe that it is bereft of substantial justice. However, the disappointment in the verdict of the court can never destroy my confidence in the judiciary. Consequently, I have asked my lawyers to activate my constitutionally guaranteed rights of appeal to the higher court.
So, there is other part too. We're talking about his rejection of the judgment. He has instructed his lawyers to proceed to the Supreme Court and all of that. And the fact that he's not new to all these kind of legal shenanigans and rascality, okay, or being kind of still defeated or robbed at the same Supreme Court, he will still go and try it anyway. You know what somebody told me? I think I read it somewhere, or both. And it was like, they said, do you know that if Atiku had allowed, without his own kind of ego, had allowed Goodluck Ebere Jonathan to do his second term in 2015, by now, it will be Atiku rounding up his second term. I think so, yeah, Abi? So Jonathan would have finished in 2019, Abi, like turn by turn, Nigeria Limited, which switched to, okay? They said, since that time, Atiku looked like somebody who has been cursed with election failure. I mean, I'm just saying, ambition failure or something like that. And others are saying, no, with what Nigeria has become. Even in 2020, in 2031, Atiku will still contest. Because around that time, it will believe that it is the turn of the North. But it is called political business, gamble, and the rest. So it was this same Atiku that led the people destroying people elements. They went on to go and drag Bokuwari. Bokuwari, who was there, also quickly saw Kolu, Tifnumbu everybody coming to drag him. Come, let us use you as our leverage. So at the end of the day, they now turn to internally displaced politicians. A lot of them thought maybe 2023 could do the magic for the SPV boys, very disloyal people. And that's why they will never forgive Peter Obi. Anyway, Atiku's lawyers, after the court ruling.
Yes. I want to get your reaction to the judgment and what next?
Well, go ahead, sir. Well, the judgment has been delivered, but we have not received justice. Luckily, the Constitution has given us the right to go on appeal. This is a court of first instance, to go on appeal to the Supreme Court. And you see, this is a struggle that is not just for our clients, but for the constitution of this country, for the rule of law, for democracy. We were expecting an outcome that will improve, encourage the use of technology to enhance election management, to enhance transparency, to enhance accountability, so that Nigerians will believe in democracy. Nigerians will come out in their masses like they did to vote. We don't want Nigerians to be discouraged in the process. There are certain things, certain principles of law that we know that we need to explore, and we strongly believe that when we get to the Supreme Court will have the opportunity to review a number of things that have been said here today. So we have the instructions of our clients as soon as possible to go to the Supreme Court. So
Supreme Court. Supreme Court, where Ariwola is, Abi, which Supreme Court? Well, I'm going to do something. And that would be taking us a little bit back in order to give a credence to what that lawyer said and everybody has been saying, which others are now saying, well, INEC kind of owed the sole responsibility or authority to decide how they want to conduct election. Nigeria spent 305 billion naira on 2023 elections, lying to all of you, millions of people in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, that they have discovered the technology and they are investing in that technology. So they used years, to sell the idea that they have now discovered a technology to improve elections in Nigeria. People should participate. So they lied to people. And that's why a lot of people are kind of like, they are wondering why Nigerians are not on the streets. Something you all need to realize, or which I have realized, is that if you look at Nigerians, like all of us generally, you will realize that a lot of us have no idea of how to react to things or things like this.